the medical field, for many years it was believed that diabetes was hereditary. So if you went to a doctor, the doctor will say to you, was your mother or father or your granny or grandfather diabetic? And people will usually say yes. Then the doctor would nod their head and say, well, that's the reason why you are diabetic. Scientists have been able to confirm over the last 8 or 9 years that the reason why people become diabetic is not necessarily genetic. So it's not passed on through the process of recreation, reproduction from the parent to the child. It's not a transmittable disease. Diabetes actually takes place because of the lifestyle that we live. And so this category of diseases is known as lifestyle disease. And so I want to speak to you today in brief about what it is that causes people to become diabetic. And in the talk, we're going to cover diabetes, many types of cancer, and heart disease. The reality of the situation is that what we eat causes lifestyle disease. I want that to sink into your brain. What we eat causes lifestyle disease. These are not infectious diseases. It wasn't like how it was in the 50s and 60s, where people were picking up viruses and bacteria, and this was causing them to become ill. These problems are caused by the types of foods that we eat. And most people are eating these foods without knowing the potential damaging factors of these foods. So what is the food that causes us to become diabetic? If I were to put it into a nutshell, then I would want you to know that a category of foods called refined carbohydrates is what causes people to become diabetic. Okay, everyone doing biology here? Everyone, right? So if I talk about carbohydrates, then you know what I'm talking about, right? We're talking about starchy foods. So what's taken place is that because of the commercial farming of food, most of the fiber is removed from the food. And what we have now is starch without fiber. So let me give you a few examples of the main culprits that are causing people to become diabetic. Number one is bread. Bad news, eh? Okay, number one, bread. Number two, a type of rice called parboiled white rice. What's the main brand? Aunt Caroline? Okay, that type of rice. And so tastic, yes. Those are the two main contributors to people becoming diabetic. By the way, diabetes is responsible for 72% of heart attacks. So diabetic people, diabetes causes blood vessel damage, and that damage causes heart disease. Nearly 100% of strokes happen in diabetic patients. It's a very high level of high blood pressure. 100% of adult blindness happens because of diabetes. And 94% of amputations. So it's a serious problem caused by what we eat. So today I'd like to help you to understand how do we make changes and how do you take information into your home that can make changes. Because us unknowingly and unconsciously eating this food is what's causing a problem. But before I do that, I want you to know that the problem is a very recent problem. Because it wasn't until the 1980s that South Africans started to become diabetic. And initially, it was mostly amongst Indian people. So what reason? The reason was because Indian people changed their diet from mostly eating mealy rice to eating parboiled white rice. At that time, it was Aunt Caroline. And slowly but surely, as the other ethnic groups also made that change, in KZN, the Zulu population changed from eating samp and mealy meal to eating bread and rice. And so diabetes started to become very prominent amongst the Zulu-speaking population. Now, we're in a multiracial society, but Wentworth has always been a predominantly colored area. Right? I grew up in Meerwyn, right next door. Now, guess where the biggest population of diabetic people in South Africa is? The colored population in Mitchell's Plain and Belleville has now the largest concentration of diabetic people. Okay? So you can see that it's a problem that doesn't just affect one ethnic group. It's a human problem because all of us are eating the same foods. So what do we do? How do we stop this epidemic? In my profession, I'm seeing people younger and younger becoming diabetic. When I started working in this field around about 18 years ago, most of my patients were senior people over the age of 60. Now, most of my patients are those in their 40s. And I have people who are 25, 28, 32 starting to become diabetic. So how do we stop this problem? Okay? So the first thing is, now here's where you really need to listen and take this information. Okay? The first thing is, you need to change what you eat for breakfast. So let me get a quick survey. I don't want to make you feel bad about what you had for breakfast. Let me take a quick survey, right? Can you, a few people tell me what you had for breakfast this morning? What did you have? Toast and eggs. Okay? You, my sister? Porridge. Bro?
Bread and butter.
Bread and butter. Yeah, the back? Wheat bix. Okay, on this side, what did you have for breakfast? Cornflakes?
Just coffee.
Cornflakes. All right.
No, just coffee.
Just coffee.
Okay. So, rule number one, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You must have breakfast. Okay? When I was in school, that was a long time ago, I went to school, you know Pierre Public Secondary? I went to school there. I matriculated in 1995. I don't know if you were born back then. No. Long time.